Death is about all you can really count on in life, and you'll certainly see a lot of it in video games. But the actual cloak-wearing, scythe-wielding personification of Death isn't all that common in the interactive dimension. But when he has come knocking, we've enjoyed his company, whether he's a brutally difficult boss or a surprisingly hilarious businessman. When the reaping must be done, these are the 10 most capable candidates.
Number 10.
Now, let's see. Conker.
CONKER'S Bad Fur Day.
The squirrel. Oh, bloody hell, you would have to be a sobbing squirrel, wouldn't you?
If the Great Mighty Pooh rings a bell, chances are you played CONKER'S Bad Fur Day, an N64 title about a belligerent squirrel who Microsoft apparently hasn't completely forgotten about. You may also recall the inventive method by which his game introduces its life system. Enter Greg the Grim Reaper, a deathly envoy with a megaphone in a little man complex who informs Conker that squirrels do dying differently. Greg is a tad sensitive about his stature and generally comes across as more grim than Reap. He's a short-tempered, foul-mouthed little guy with a general disdain for cats, but it's pretty much what we'd expect from a game with an alcoholic rodent and a fecal-inspired opera.
Right, that's it. Piss off. I've got some cats to see. Bloody things. I hate those bloody cats.
Number 9. The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask is loved by fans for many reasons, one of which is its plethora of strange and quirky moments. The sequel's darker tone is reflected in several aspects of the game, namely the bizarre enemies Link encounters. One such monstrosity that strikes fear into players is Gomez, the mini-boss of the notorious Stone Tower Temple. A death-like figure cloaked in bats in a fashion that would make Dracula envious, the fearsome foe wields a giant scythe and shows no mercy to any who cross his path, especially the hero of time. Death awaits those who lack courage, for the only way to slay the fiend is to be brave and stand your ground long enough to fire a light arrow to break his defensive coating of bats, then defend against a fierce onslaught before making your counterattack at the foe's heart.
Number 8. Dragon's Dogma.
Death in Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is a classic example of what a Grim Reaper is all about. He's cloaked in darkness, carrying a giant scythe, and his tattered robes conceal every aspect of his being. He shows up at random, often inconvenient times to try and steal your soul, unlike others on this list, whose visits are more routine. Rumored to be a former Arisen, he was eventually driven mad. He believed it was his duty to offer human sacrifices to mollify the dragon's destruction. He's one of the best examples of how you never know what to expect in Dogma's world.
Number 7. Persona 3.
Exploring in any JRPG invites a certain amount of risk, but Persona 3 takes this danger one insidious step further. The game sends a shadow known only as the Reaper after players who spend too much time on any one floor of Tartarus, or those unlucky enough to pick the Skald card during shuffle time. What makes this particular version of the Angel of Death so memorable is that you never feel completely safe. Hearing the loud rattling of chains signaling the Reaper is suddenly lurking on your floor induces a special sort of panic, since he absolutely decimates all but the most experienced adventurers. The Reaper also appears in Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden, but we decided to give the nod to its Persona 3 incarnation, since it's generally a more consistent threat.
Number 6. God of War, Chains of Olympus.
Only one person outside of Kratos' immediate family has bested him in combat, Charon. Now worthy of being aboard his ship, Charon defeats Kratos and throws him to the depths of Tartarus. Armed with the multifunctional scythe that doubles as a walking stick, the unwilling ferryman of the river Styx guides the souls of the dead from the land of the living to the underworld. Decapitated heads hang around his ghostly body, presumably trophies of his past victims, and his golden mask harbors godly power, simultaneously hiding his bony face. The underworld would eventually fall into chaos after his defeat, with no one to guide the lost spirits.
Be gone! It is not yet your time, mortal.
Number 5. Twisted Metal.
Calypso's death race is so popular that Death himself has joined the roster a few times under the guise of Mr. Grimm. The high-octane homage to Ghost Rider hungers after human souls and is willing to compete to capture Calypso's soul, the only one that has ever escaped his grasp. In his first appearance, he actually gets the better of Calypso, one of the few times a driver has walked away from Twisted Metal truly victorious. He's always been one of the more agile cars with a powerful super weapon to back up his bike's small frame. His appearances prove you really can outrun Death, if you have enough homing rockets.
Number 4. Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls.
Malthael is on this list for two reasons. He looks absolutely menacing with his twin sickles and smoky wings, plus he's arguably the toughest and most memorable boss in all of Diablo 3. You fight the fallen angel deep within the fractured and surreal Pandemonium Fortress, where he ominously warns that the only thing waiting for you is death. The preceding fight requires precise movement and spacing, simultaneously reminiscent of a bullet hell shooter and an intense MMO raid, as he constantly blasts a slew of projectiles all over the small, circular battlefield. Plus, Malthael manages to steal the Black Soul Stone, containing the 7 evils of hell, from Tyrael and the Horadrim, with seemingly no effort at all. This is one Reaper you don't want to mess with.
Can stop death.
Number 3. Darksiders 2.
It's not often we see Death as a hero or even an ally, but in Darksiders 2, he takes center stage to find justice for his brother War, seeking to restore humanity in the process. He still has a gruff, no-nonsense attitude, so don't expect to find him in a candy shop unless he's brutally weeding out a vein of corruption. Instead of dry bones and flowing robes, this version of Death is rather meaty, with biceps primed to clamber over obstacles or pummel monsters into dust.
Number 2.
Hey Manny, the boss told me to tell you not to leave early tonight. He wants to talk to you about something when he gets back from his trip.
Grim Fandango.
Tell Don not to worry. I'm not going anywhere.
While the other competitors on this list might offer a more traditional take on the visage of Death, Manny Calavera definitely has the best sense of humor. And when it comes to the afterlife, it's always best to take things in stride. On paper, Manny is a Reaper, although our kind would call him a travel agent, helping others pass along the superhighway to salvation while he's stuck on the overpass. He's one of the most expressive and endearing piles of bones in video games, and soon a whole new pile of bodies can meet Manny when his game gets an update this year or next.
Number 1. Castlevania.
There are not many things deader than Dracula, but Death has been haunting the Count's castle ever since the series launched in 1986. He's shown his skull in every single game, except the 2 entries on the original Game Boy. He's always a formidable boss, usually stationed right before the final fight with Dracula, and sometimes pops up to give the latest challenger some encouragement. His appearance is always iconic, but each game has also added their own stylistic interpretations to his standard garb and hooked blade. Games didn't invent Death, but Death has set up his longest-running residence in Konami's franchise, and he'll be sticking around until there's nothing left in Castlevania to kill.